Hello and welcome back to our continuing adventures on the Let's Defend platform. Today we are taking a crack at the ProcDump challenge. It is a hard challenge underneath the incident responder path that is free. During my work session, my PC crashed unexpectedly and failed to reboot. Unfortunately, I salvaged some process dumps. Can you analyze them to recover critical lost information? Analyze the process dump. It's a memory forensic analyst to uncover system details, user activity, and potential connections prior to the crash. So we are given a Windows VM. Let's see, what is the operating system version? What is the SSH software used on the host machine? What is the IP address connected through SSH? What is the name of the text file left on the desktop? How many threads did the Edge browser use? I was searching for a new job. What was my search query? What is the name of the PowerShell module loaded in the process? First one. And how many event handles were allocated in the PowerShell process? Okay. So on here we are given win debug x86, and we are given the hint of effectively to use this. You're like, well, wait, I don't understand. I don't see it. Just one sec. Gotta bring it up. There it is. See if I can make this just a little bit bigger. Okay. And so we get this here. And so I have extracted out the crasher with the leet-speak 7-zip, and that gives us msedge.dmp, notepad.dmp, powershell.dmp, and sshd.dmp. So I just basically fired up 4 copies of this and just dumped in single DMP into one version, went to the second version, took the next DMP, and everything else like that. So it's one run of WinDBG and then tied to a particular DMP file. So as this stuff goes through and comes up, you'll get the information in the top half. There will be a run analyze-v, which I've done on most of these, and you'll effectively wait for this stuff to go through. And what you'll notice is that it will pull apart some information. So as we're looking at this, we can see that the OS version comes back as 10.0.19041.1. I have no idea if I can copy and paste in here, but we're going to try. And so we are correct. Okay, and now we're going to take a look at what is the SSH software. So I've got the SSH inside of here. Same thing as with the previous one, we do the run. Is it asterisk? Or is it vertical pipe analyze-v? Wait for that to do its thing. We get a repeat of the same aspect. OS version, and we again get 10.0.19.041.1. And we get all this information that basically dumps here. And we get module name, SSHD. If we click on that, it will expand it out, so we get to see the details as to how it sits here. And so what we end up seeing is product name is OpenSSH for Windows. So I'm willing to bet we're just going to do OpenSSH. And we got the second one. Now we need the aspect of what is the IP address that was connected. So do we see anything that looks like an IP address in any of this? not so much, but let's see if we can't just expand a little bit more with all modules and just see what shakes out. So let's drag this back up to the top and we'll work our way down while we take a look and see if we can find an IP address in question. Okay, so there's that particular aspect. There's... Alright, here's everything. Looks like version information. Yeah, so we're getting the same stuff like company name, versions, file locations of everything that's basically kicking off. Yeah, I am not seeing anything thus far. Although I also don't typically do a whole hell of a lot with WinDBG, so... Yeah, I am not seeing an IP address. Okay, so part of the aspect is to, I'm expecting that we're going to have to take a look at strings, so I grabbed the sysinternals strings, dumped it, installed it on the system, and then ran it against the individual dumps, and then creating their own portions. And so inside of the SSHD strings file, I did a search for 192 dot to start looking through, which gave me this. And what we end up seeing, 192.168.245.133. Looks like over port 22. And on a whim, it's like, okay, let's give it a shot. And that was it, 192.168.245.133. I'm willing to bet it'd probably be the same for most. And then we're going to take a look at name of the text file on the desktop. So I expect that's going to be Notepad. And we're going to start looking. And if I take a guess, it's going to be worknotes.txt. Again, just doing a search for .txt inside of the Notepad strings file. Yeah, worknotes seems to be mentioned an awful lot. Let's see. If we drop that, pop that in, and we submit. Are we on the money? Okay. Now we gotta figure out threads that I'm not entirely sure is actually going to be something denoted in a strings output. Okay, and we can get the thread count by making sure that we have the message dump pulled up in WinDBG. We can go view, and we can do processes and threads, and we get 17. All right, searching for a new job. What was my query? That will likely take I don't know. Yeah, let's go back to this one. Is there a section for event handles? Not that I immediately see. So I'll have to go back to just keep whacking at this. Oops, I realize I may not have had that actually visible. Okay, so we have message dump, view, and process threads, and 17. I initially thought 18, counting 00 or 000, but that was not correct. But 17 was, so it does make me wonder. Anyways, back to it. Okay, so the next thing we're looking for, the answer is job career in data analysis. Okay, how did we get there? So again, back to the strings dump for message, and I did search for job through this particular portion. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe they're doing a Google search because, I mean, next thing would have been Bing. Yeah, I did check the hint. It does say take a look at the Google search. So it's like, okay, we'll focus on that. So just did search for Google after the search for job. And what we find is advanced search job plus career plus in plus data plus analysis. Which I guess works out better. Because there were a lot of hits for job working the way through all this. But if you can search through it long enough, you'll eventually hit a couple of different terms that look like they were actually in the memory, which is good. It's just something of a pain in the posterior. Okay, what are we looking for now? What is the name of the PowerShell module loaded in the process? And then we'll have to figure out event handles were allocated in the PowerShell process. So we're going to take a look at the probably the PowerShell strings. Okay, immediately jumping in the hint. And so loaded modules to find PowerShell specific ones. It looks like they give us lm space m space asterisk PowerShell asterisk. And so if we bring back up our VM, we get Microsoft PowerShell PS read line, PowerShell. I'm willing to bet that it's going to be that. So Microsoft underscore PowerShell underscore PS read line. Correct. Okay. And then if we take a look at the event handles, what's the hint? Use the handle command to filter by type. So just asterisk dot handle or asterisk oh. Okay, that works, I guess. How many event handles? 299? Again, that's the WinDBG x86 that's on the Windows VM, and then with the PowerShell.tmp loaded up. So let's see if we're right. 299. And there we go. That is it in the entirety. And we've completed ProcDump. Yeah, definitely had to do a lot more digging and a lot more with the help than what I normally would. But again, don't end up doing a whole heck of a lot with WinDBG and then process dumps like this. And just going freewheeling with the stuff. But I did find HTML version of a crash dump analysis poster that seemed to talk about a good deal of this stuff here. And windbg.org had basically took you for that. Download links on that cheat sheet. So yeah, this actually looks like there's a metric ton of information on using all this stuff. So I will make sure that's added into the video description. And as you basically work through the cheat sheet, click on the various items. It will link you to the learn.microsoft.com articles in regards to the various commands and descriptions there within. So there we go. Got something of a pain in the posterior, but we got it. Refresh to make sure. Yep, there we go. Bing, bing, boom. Hard, yeah. Because if you don't use WinDBG, you're kind of up shit creek without a paddle. I know I failed an awful lot. I just did not bother to record those aspects. But so there we go. That all being said, I will see everybody in the next video.